Please turn to page 178 and stand for Barker. Please be seated. And down below, we read together this prayer for the coming on of the morning. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, whose power fills the cosmos, who opens for us the gates of compassion and lights up the eyes of those who await forgiveness, shaper of light, source of the darkness, maker of peace, creator of all. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Lights from the darkness, God, and it was so. Turning in our prayer books to page 181. Now I'm going to be Carla to lead us. She will read for us the second creative reading.
Like an unbroken current, energy streams from the source, bathing the planet in light, calling forth life, movement, mind unfolding from matter, the power to love. And we offer it back to you, our own creative energy, ever dreaming, building, shaping patterns out of chaos, searching out light in the darkness. Creation never ceases, not for an instant. All life is aglow with your light. All things draw sustenance from the source.
Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzei
Page 183. Before the Shema, this reading. You love us by helping us grow. You give us Torah, a ladder for the soul, words that draw us upward. Every mitzvah, an invitation to climb, forge and kiln and crucible to purify our hearts. You give us Torah. You love us by helping us grow. Page 182. us in the peace from the four corners of the earth. Together, lead us with upright pride to the land that is ours. For you are a God of miracles and wonders. Of all the peoples of the earth you sought us, brought us near to your great enduring truth. So, with love, we acknowledge and proclaim that you are one. Page 186. Page 188. Page 191. Turn to page 196. Nichamocha.
Shiva
this moment, starting even in the beginning of the month of Elul, way back when, over a month ago, for the moment of standing that we will do in a moment as we are able. We come to the Amidah, to the standing prayer, fully at attention, fully owning all of our misgivings about what we have done to cause us to ask for forgiveness now. We took Elul to ask it from one another. Today, we ask for the Holy One to seal that blessing of forgiveness. So we begin with the Amidah, and then we will go into Unatanet Tokaf, this beautiful chant which is going to bring us to the eternal questions. Who shall live? Who shall die? And then we'll take some time for quiet meditative reflection from pages 221. If you want to just turn to it, hold a finger there. 221 to 250, I'll remind you, that will be some time for quiet reflection. We will come to Avinu Malkeinu afterwards, and then go into our Torah service. That's giving you a little map of where we're going to be going. Let's just gather ourselves at this pause. We set the intention. Turning to page 198, we rise for Hatefillah.
Oh אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה גם להושיע, מוריד אתה. מחיי חיים ועשר, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סופי יורים ורופא חולים, ומציל אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשביל הקהל, בגבוה
Page 207.
Who by fire, who by water, who in the sunshine, and who in the nighttime? Who by high ordeal, who by common trial, and who in your merry, merry month of May? Who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling?
Who in her lonely slip, who by barbarous tour, who in these realms of love, who by something blunt, who by avalanche, who by powder, who first greed, who first hunger, and who shall I say is calling?
Who by brave ascent, who by accident, who in solitude, who in this mirror, who by his lady's command, who by his own hand, who in mortal chains, who in power, and who shall I say is calling?
We remain standing as our ark is opened. Page 208. Our sovereign God of pardon and forgiveness, let these words of sanctity ascend to you. together. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. Page 210.
ושופר גדול ייתקע, וקול המדקה ישמע, ומלאכים יחפשון, וחיל ורעדי יחפשון, ויאמרו הנה יום הדין. לבכות לצפון הרומדי, נזכו בגת בדין.
And so a great shofar will cry, Tikiyah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. Together we say, all who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd, as a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff. You count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments. Turning to page 212. This is written on the fast of Yom Kippur. This is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age and who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? Page 213, toward the end, 4 paragraphs up.
People
14. And if you need to sit at any point, please do. The ark remains open. We say together, but through return to right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. Our Kedusha is on page 218.
Yeah.
page 250. Before we move on with our service, friends, it is 11 o'clock, which is an important moment for me to pause in the service because of a few things. First of all, I want to point your attention to, and before you even leave, those of you who are going out, and I totally get it, but I do want to make sure that everybody here knows that we are having a very important happening right now between 11 and 2 o'clock. We're having BRCA testing, BRCA testing, just today in the lobby. And BRCA testing is important because 1 in 40 Jews of Ashkenazic descent carries the inherited BRCA genetic mutations, which increases the risk of several cancers, including breast cancer for men and women, and also ovarian cancer. So that means that 1 in 40 Ashkenazic Jews is in the elevated category. So during the day of Yom Kippur, Temple Israel will have genetic counselors on hand to provide you with information, answer any questions you may have, and help women and men determine if they should be considered for testing. I myself am going to make my way out into the lobby after all of this is done to do so. So knowledge is power. And this is a really important time of year to be considering our legacies. We only want to pass on good stuff to our children and grandchildren, and just to make it a little bit more right down to earth, turning this stigmatized issue into something that has once been entrenched in fear but should see the light of day. I have a friend who calls herself Brave Lucky. Brave Lucky. Because she got tested, found out that her father carried the gene, took action, and got treated. Today, she is thanking God and the incredible technology that is out there, that she is healthy and can pass that awareness on to her children. So please plan to stop by that information table today between 11 and 2 and learn more. And I also want to invite you to hear an important sermon by our own beloved congregant, Steve Pollack, who is going to be speaking on Friday night, October 5th, about his own courageous and moving story of surviving and thriving with breast cancer. So I want you to please keep all of that in mind on this day of days. It's also 11 o'clock for those of you who are going to be going with Ormars to the family service. Great opportunity to just have fun and sing, maybe a little dancing. And we also want to let teens know that this is the moment to be going out to our teen experience with all kinds of awesome stuff with our educator, Beata Abraham. So if you're here for any of that stuff and want to go at this moment, awesome, awesome. All right, teens, have a great time. Have a great time at the family service. Anyone else who is going, and thank you again for paying attention to the BRCA testing, which will be happening. So as that quiet exit happens, we are going to be turning in our prayer books to Avinu Malkeinu, page 252. We invite Elaine and John Tells to come open our ark. Please rise for Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Anu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption, page 253. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. Treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. My pleasure right now to invite, share some words of Torah inspiration and information. I'd like to invite the president of our board of trustees, Patty Short.
Shana Tova. May you all be inscribed in the book of life. May this year bring you all happiness, health, peace, and joy. Try as I may, I have had various versions of my address pre-written over the summer, edited as recently as this morning. To you, treasured congregants and welcome guests, I want to be as crisp as possible this morning, in a nutshell, to let you all know where we are as a congregation and where we are going. In doing so, I've reviewed all of my last 3 high holiday addresses for 3 purposes. Number 1, not to bore you. Number 2, to let you know that we are well on track. And number 3, I have only a 10-minute allocation of time. In the September-October issue of the Harvard Business Review, the noted historian Doris Kearns Goodwin wrote an article about Abraham Lincoln's 11 necessary steps to transformational leadership. It was a great and informative article, but let me distill her piece into one sentence which I borrowed from her most recent book, Leadership in Turbulent Times. With public sentiment, nothing can fail, and without public sentiment, nothing can succeed. This simple statement guides my address to you this morning. Perhaps the greatest generational pivot in our storied history was our determinational shift from a traditional dues model to a membership commitment model. The concept, though simple in its design, was a risk we as a congregation took 4 years ago. It's quite a simple calculation. With the division of annual expenses, we could let the entirety of the congregation know what it costs to run the congregation per family each year. It is not a nickel and dimed model. There are no building assessments, no additional charges, just the facts and the numbers. In writing, we ask for you to consider increasing your commitment if you can, and in some instances, you should. As I get ready to become past president, I cannot state my gratitude and thankfulness enough to Dan Finkelman and Matt Friedman and their committee who did all the homework to research best congregational practices and put forth the guidelines so that this model could succeed. In my mind, it has. For these 4 years that the model has been in place, I have defended this funding model to many, including the Temple Israel Foundation, who generously funded our annual shortfall for almost 4 years in our former location. Did I feel under the spotlight and interrogated at every meeting? I did, and I didn't like it very much, but they had a point, a very valid point. Who will contribute to their capacity, and there are those who have capacity but will not contribute as they should. For those of you that rise to the occasion, we thank you. Our goal is for the entirety of our membership to be so entrenched in our community to be sent. Your commitments on an annual basis allow us to keep the lights on and our staff to plan for events that you as a congregation desire, attend, and have grown to love. We are out of the dues collection business and fully into the membership engagement experience. As a board, we budgeted that when we left our former location in early August last year that we would lose 30. When doing the math, that would be almost 100 members. As it turned out, we haven't had that experience. We actually have a net gain of new members. From last high holidays to now, we have a gain of 54 new families and have lost 34 families. I tend to focus on the losses. And truly, I focus on the number 22, which is evenly divided between the 11 families who have left due to non-payment of their commitments and the 11 families who didn't like the new location or didn't like the direction of our congregation. The remaining losses are those members who have passed on and those who have moved away. I am beyond grateful for the gains and the abundant generosity of our new members, and give all the credit to our amazing clergy and our professional staff. If we ask you, our members, to simply commit to an annual membership, we can plan and dream, and we have, as noted in the simple upcoming events card you all received with the schedule of the high holiday services. But nothing happens without you. As of this writing, we've received almost 65% of our total budgeted commitments for the fiscal year. This is a new record for us. This is transformational leadership on your part, and I know we can do better. As we sit in a packed capacity room at the J, I have a few thoughts. First and foremost, on behalf of the congregation, we're so grateful for the partnership with the J. To their staff and their leadership, I cannot think of a better way to have stayed in the wilderness without you. Our children filled this space with love, laughter, and learnings. The Friday night regulars, who have grown in numbers, gather to enjoy each other's company. Wine and cheese might help, but it is my strong belief that what happens at our Kabbalat Shabbat is unique in our city. Shabbat at Temple Israel has become a joyful and peaceful 1 hour only event. Thanks again to the rabbi and the cantor and the professional staff who attend to each detail. No stone is ever unturned. Which brings me to the topic of the new building. As of yesterday, we received, and I'm serious, yesterday, we received a new plan and set of drawings, and there is a reason for that. In good conscience, based upon our wishes and dreams, our renderings and prior plans are simply unaffordable. After securing the variances needed in late June, we put final pencil to paper. And our mighty building committee had a number in mind, which we could not attain due to a variety of factors that included some natural unforeseen events, a building boom, several hurricanes, where building materials are diverted, and the numbers came in closer to 4.5 million, which would be irresponsible on our part to spend our funds in that way. So we sent our architect and our contractor back to the drawing board. And after dogging them for the past 6 weeks, we've received new drawings that are a touch more modest, that may just come in at a building price we can afford to build. 2 months ago, we had 2 open houses in our new location. I think it was obvious to all who attended that a simple remodel might be a challenge. So to ensure we won't have a mortgage, we're having a building campaign. As of this writing, we're comfortable in announcing that without making face-to-face calls, we have secured almost $800,000 of the $2 million we seek to raise, which, by the way, includes the unsolicited gifts from our clergy, both of them, executive director, and their family. Our small fundraising committee is up and running to contact the additional 450 families who have not yet made commitments to this most worthy campaign. And we could use help if you're so inclined. But here's the truth. Until we add to the $2.2 million, which sits in a bank account dedicated for the building renovation and only to the building renovation, we will not break ground, and we shouldn't. To hope for what may be, it's no longer our way. Certainty creates a responsible outcome. Our board and our Temple Israel Foundation board has made 100% commitment to this campaign. We seek 100% commitment from our congregants as well. There is room for everyone to define their own commitment to the Temple Israel Legacy Campaign, known as Shuvu, the Coming Home Campaign. Organized by our congregant, Lynn Garfinkel, thanks to the ever-present generosity of the Lurie family. For those of you that have made your pledge to the Shuvu campaign, we are so grateful. All personally thanked, but I'd like to publicly recognize the women of Temple Israel for their generous contribution to this campaign. You are not recognized enough for the quiet work you do and deliver to this congregation. Thank you for your generosity. For those who find it in your heart to make your commitment to this campaign without a personal phone call, we're grateful. For those of you who require more information or request a meeting with those of us seeking pledges from you, we'll provide it, and we will be calling you. Over the past weekend, I attended a wedding in Washington, D.C., officiated by a rabbi who just consecrated his new building. His Reformed congregation of 200 families raised $6 million in 7 years on the eastern shore of Maryland. They had a goal, and they patiently waited to achieve it prior to moving ahead. I believe our most modest goal is achievable in a much shorter time. With your generosity and your commitment to our community, transformational leadership, again, is required. We are a synagogue of 500 families who are not building a building to accommodate 4 services. Read the high holidays, full stop. We are a congregation that is going to locate in a community that requires our service, feeding the poor, knitting for new mothers, serving our historical members, those are their words, not mine, and having space for lifelong learners, meditation, life cycle events, and so much more, if you allow it to be so. These past 4 years have always been about you and what you are willing to wish for the legacy of Temple Israel. And there are so many faces I see in this room today that have donated their time and treasure to this effort in designing our new space. And to those of you that stuff envelopes, welcome new members, donate so others can attend programming, and just show up. You truly are what makes Temple Israel special. I could go on, but I know my dear friend, my best editor, and my partner in crime, Harriet Hansel, is timing me, as she should. You are led by a board who shares the facts online, available to the membership in real time. And we are a board that lives by a constitution closely guarded by our past president, Fred Summer, and our governance committee. We have rules, we have processes and procedures, and we represent your voices, not a singular voice and not the loudest voice, the voice of a community of shared values and renewed purpose. My dream is for our building committee to be there to greet you when our new location is complete. Sooner than later, I pray. Change has been the catalyst for our survival, more than survival, thriving together for each other. As we wander home, we remain truly blessed. Again, Shana Tova.
Pat, thank you. It has been a tireless effort. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for everybody. We are a place that I look around any given day in this place and feel so supported by your presence. That is about the best way that you can feel truly at home. Just knowing who the people are in the room, we really are very, very blessed. Thank you so much. We would like to now continue with the service. On page 254, we come back to our service at the beginning of the Torah service, and we welcome Lori and Sammy.
Bringing the Torah into our midst. Let the reading of the Torah be like prayer, a meditation to remind us what we strive for, a chant that binds us to the chain of generations.
Let the reading of Torah be like prayer, a moment of purest solidarity with our people's hopes and history, an invitation to affirm or dissent, to challenge or believe, to ask why or say amen.
Let the reading of the Torah be like prayer, flowing like waters that renew the spirit, refreshing and sweet to nourish the soul.
Let the reading of Torah be like prayer. Every word is a blessing, every verse a conversation with God.
Page 255.
Eloha Elohim Adonai Beit Ha'aseh Malachutecha Malachut Kol Olamim U'memshaltecha B'chol dor v'dor
Page 256.
Read together. Adonai, Adonai, God, passionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to thousands of generations, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
No
did the most rabbinic thing I may have ever done, which is one of these, which I grew up with that. But thanks for knowing what that was instead of starting the wave or something. We are going to be starting our Torah reading on page 266. We will have 3 aliyot, and this is really such a beautiful passage to read along with. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. You, all of you, are standing here at this moment of Sinai. This is a Sinai moment. All of you, from people who don't consider yourselves to be so important, to maybe some of us who think of ourselves as very important, to those of us who really feel like we have something to say but haven't been heard yet, to those of us who really do say a lot and contribute. All of us, everyone is equalized in this moment of Sinai. And we come with our purest intention to this moment. We're delighted to have so many people who have been preparing for this day. Tim Jenkins, Barry Lubo, and Susan Lubo have practiced Torah for this moment. We're so grateful to all of you for having done that. And we are going to call our 3 different groups of people to honor the Torah this morning, starting with Amy and Josh Sanders for our first Aliyah this morning as Tim Jenkins reads. Ya'amdu. Ruth bat Avram Belcharaved, Yosef Reuven ben, Tobi bat Bav l'Aliyah harishona. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'kavanu b'kol ha'amim, v'na'at lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzei HaTorah. Amen.
Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. Rashechem, Shitechem, Zitnichem, V'shodrechem, Kol Ish Yisrael. Tapechem, Neshechem, V'gerecha, Asher V'cherev Nachanecha, Mechotev Etzecha, Ad Shoed Memecha. V'ovrecha, V'ivrit, Adonai Elohecha, Uvalato, Asher Adonai Elohecha, Horet Imcha Hayom. Leman Hakim Otcha Hayom Lo Le'am, V'hu Yihyelecha Le'Elohim Ka'asher Diber Lach, V'Ka'asher Nishba La'avotecha La'Avraham U'Yitzhak U'Yaakov. V'lo Yitechem Levadechem Habarit Hazot Ve'et Hala Hazot, Et Asher Yeshnocho Imanu Omed Hayom Lifnei Adonai Eloheinu ve'et asher enenu po imanu hayom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzei HaTorah. Amen.
We are going to skip a few verses, so we're going to go to page 267, verse 11, as we welcome Barry Lubo to chant Torah and David Stone for our Aliyah. Ya'amon, David ben Reuven, Shehid. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamabarak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'kavanu b'kol ha'amim, v'tanu lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzei HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ki hamitzvah hazot asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom lo niflehi רחוקה היא, לא בשמיים היא, לאמור. מי יללנו השמיימה, ויקחיה לנו, וישמינו אותה ונעשנה, ולא מעבר לים היא, לאמור. מי יעבור לנו אל עבר הים, ויקחיה לנו, וישמינו אותה ונעשנה. כי קרוב אליך הדבר מאוד, בפיך ובלבבך
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'chotenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
As our Torah is in our presence, we turn to page 271 for Amisha Berach, a prayer for healing for those who are sick, those who are in need of spiritual and bodily healing. When I pause, please say the names for whom, of those people for whom you are wishing healing. Misha Berach, Avotenu v'Imotenu, Abraham, Yitzhak v'Yaakov, Sarah v'Ivka Rachel v'Leah v'Yivarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולרפאותם, להחזיקם ולהחיותם, וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה בתוך שאר החולים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ונאמר Amen. May the one who brought blessings to our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and bring healing to those who are ill, all of those people whose names we mentioned. May the Holy One bless, source of life and healing, sustain and strengthen them with compassion and restore them to full health without delay. For all who struggle against illness, let renewal of spirit and renewal of body come soon, and together we say, Amen. Amen. Turning back, friends, for our final Aliyah this morning, we welcome Lori and Mike Levison for our third and final Aliyah, which starts on verse 14 and 15, and will be chanted by Susan Lubo. Ya'amdu le'abat. Adon be'ed Michael ben Eliyahu Shlishi.
Adonai HaBarak.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. As we lift and dress our Torah, we call Milt Lehman and Karen Burke. We turn to page 274 as we lift our Torah. Bezot HaTorah Asher Son Moshe Lifnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Eyal Moshe. Romemu Adonai Elohim Ve'ishachavu Me'hadosho. Romemu Adonai Elohim Ve'ishachavu Me'hadosho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Please be seated. Our Haftarah is from the book of Isaiah, and it is so worthwhile and so relevant to what we're doing today. That is this fast, which God has commanded us to do. Lisa and Corey Goldson will read on pages 277 through 278, and we begin with the blessings before the Torah, the Haftarah rather, on page 275, and we'll conclude with some afterwards. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'pi v'ratzah divreihem הנאמרים באמת. Baruch atah Adonai Elohei b'Torah u'mashe'ato u'B'Yisrael amo u'b'nbiei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Cry from the depth, says God. Do not hold back. Lift up your voice like the shofar. Tell my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sin. Yes, they seek me daily, as though eager to learn my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not abandoned God's law. They ask of me the right way, eager for God's nearness. They say, why did we fast and you do not see it? We afflict ourselves and you do not know it. Because even on your fast day, you think only of desire, while oppressing all who work for you. Because your fasting is filled with strife, and with callous fists you strike. No, your fasting this day will not lift up your voice before heaven. Is this the fast I desire? A day to afflict body and soul? Bowing your head like a reed, covering yourself with sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast, a day worthy of the favor of Adonai? Is not this the fast I desire? To break the bonds of injustice and remove the heavy yoke, to let the oppressed go free and release all those enslaved? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and to take the homeless poor into your home and never to neglect your own flesh and blood?
Then shall your light burst forth like the dawn, and your wounds shall quickly heal. Your righteous one leading the way before you, the presence of Adonai guarding you from behind. Then you will call, Adonai will answer, and when you cry, will respond, I am here. If you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the malicious word, if you offer your compassion to the hungry and satisfy the suffering, then shall your light shine through the darkness, and your night become bright as noon. Adonai will guide you always, slake your thirst in parched places, give strength to your bones. You shall be like a well-watered garden, an unfailing spring. From you they will rebuild ancient ruins, lay foundations for ages to come, and you shall be called the one who mends the breach and brings back the streets for dwelling. If you cease to trample Shabbat, stop pursuing your affairs on my holy day. If you call Shabbat a delight, the holy day of Adonai, honor, and if you honor God by not doing business or speaking of everyday matters, then shall you take pure delight in Adonai. I will lift up your journey on earth to the highest of places and nourish you from the heritage of your father Jacob. For thus spoke Adonai.
We continue on page 280.
שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לתפילה ולסליחה ולכפרה, לכבוד ותפארת על הכל. אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך ובכל חי תמיד אל העד, וברכה אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מלכות וסולח אבותינו, נבונות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר שבותי בכל שנה ושנה. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. It is a warm, breezy evening this past summer in Jaffa, Israel. As my family and I make it just in time for our dinner reservations, we have arrived at Na Lagat, Hebrew for please touch. The atmosphere inside the restaurant is festive. There's a bar off to one side, and savory snacks await us on low coffee tables. Our English-speaking server, Hilan, meets us at the door to lead us inside. We're going to play a little game of choo-choo, she instructs. So everyone line up and put your hands on each other's shoulders so that I can lead you inside to your table. This is an unusual place to eat, since this blackout restaurant operates in total darkness, giving the customers a sense of what it is like to be blind. We enter into the inky, enveloping darkness. Suddenly I feel like a helpless child as we navigate our way to our table in the clattering, boisterous place. Our table for four is situated along a wall to my right, the kitchen several yards straight ahead in front of me, and an all Hebrew-speaking party who has already had too much to drink on my left. But the table itself is the key place that I have to orient myself. Excuse me. Bread basket at 2 o'clock. Wine glass at 11 o'clock. Dipping sauce, an unfortunate casualty already of my elbow at around 4 o'clock. Hila, our server, deftly fills water glasses, takes our orders, delivers them in proper order, and patiently withstands water spilling and elbow dipping throughout. My family and I laughed nervously for the first few minutes, but then we managed to get our bearings. We keep finding and grabbing for each other's hands to anchor us through the disorienting darkness. And just before dessert, wearing what tastes like pesto sauce all over my shirt and pants, I well up with emotion. I am utterly overcome. Maybe it's because our blind server Hila, whose name appropriately translates to halo, tells us her story of having lost her vision to illness as a teenager. But you can still hear my joy through my voice, she says. You can still tell that I'm smiling. Maybe it's because we are swimming in total darkness in a room full of strangers feeling entirely safe, right in the middle of Israel. Maybe it's because my family and I get to experience this all together as we occupy our little island in pitch blackness, needing each other to feel anchored. Maybe it's because this is yet another moment for me of feeling in awe of the Israeli mind that brings dreams like this to life, to help blind people maximize their potential and sighted people appreciate what blind folks experience daily. I am moved by the culinary adventure's ability to trigger my other senses, spark my empathy, and appreciate the uniquely human ability to see more than my eyes can take in. It is as if my eyes can hear and my ears can see. For me, Nalagaat, the Blackout restaurant that I went to, is in many ways the perfect metaphor for my evolving relationship with Israel. No matter how often I visit, no matter how much I read or talk about Israel, I find myself constantly navigating through the murkiness that is Israel. I'm continuously having to get my bearings in that often confusing place and choosing to love Israel in all of its holy messiness. Israel is the place where my Jewish identity took hold and took flight. Living in Israel set in stone my commitment to the Jewish people and our shared destiny. Israel was intrinsic to my decision to become a rabbi. I fall in love all over again with Israel each time I travel there. Hebrew, for me, is like, even though I'm being corrected every other sentence, sweeter than honey. Walking the windy streets of Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, I feel fully at home. And imbibing the light itself fills my neshama, my soul, to the brim. I take pride in Israel's achievements in science and technology, and whenever Israel is the first to lend a helping hand to other countries in need of resources or other assistance during natural or human-made disasters, which is often, I feel like our Jewish values of tikkun olam, literally repairing the world, are realized. But Israel is a real country with real problems and real ways that she can do better. The intractable Israeli-Palestinian conflict can lead us into despair regardless of our interpretation of its root causes. The ongoing battle between the Israelis and the Palestinians appears to be helplessly spiraling out of control ad infinitum. Bloodshed and fear drive the battle between Israelis and Palestinians. Pain upon pain, revenge upon revenge, goes the endless cycle. Righteous indignation for the Palestinian cause clashes frequently with righteous indignation for the Israeli cause. Our Jewish college students in the United States are suffering as they wade through the complex and polarizing waters of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. Whether they defend or oppose it or are totally apathetic to it, I fear for the future of their positive emerging Jewish identities. But through all of this, I will never stop yearning for Israel to live out its true potential, to be a light unto the nations, a beacon of civility, and a champion of democracy. And I will never stop working to bring about this potential. As a diaspora Jew, as a Reform Jew, and as an American, I strongly disagree with Israeli policies which denigrate Jewish religious pluralism and disparage liberal Jews. I am dismayed by the nation-state bill, which legalizes discrimination against non-Jewish citizens and downgrades the status of Arabic as an official language. And for me, when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I am particularly disheartened. Yisrael, Israel in Hebrew, means to struggle with God, to wrestle with our deeply held truths. This is who we are as Jews. We're always open to learning, testing assumptions, refining our worldview. What would it mean to live true to the name as the Jewish people, Israel, and wrestle with this issue? What would it mean to lovingly struggle with Israel and still do Jewish responsibly, upholding our sacred values? For me, Israel is a basic part of Jewish life, and I want to encourage all of us to have an ever-deepening relationship with Israel, even if it is simply because half of the Jewish people in the world, our brothers and sisters, live there. And for me, Ahavat Yisrael, a love of Israel and the Jewish people, is a core value of Jewish life. The prophet Isaiah called the Jewish people an Or LaGoyim, a light unto the nations. Israel and the Jewish people, and every single Jewish person and all of us in this room, everyone has a light to bring to the world. Light is born through love. And I love Israel so that it can be a light to the world. We have to love Israel like a family member, which can be challenging. Rabbi Avraham Infeld, the former president of Hillel International, would tell our college students, you have to love Israel not only as much as you love your mother, you have to love Israel like it's your mother-in-law. That is to say, the most difficult of relationships, excluding my own relationship with my mother-in-law, of course. The most difficult of relationships, though, the ones in which we don't see eye to eye much of the time, still require our loving attention. I lovingly disagree with Israel sometimes. In my own relationship with a place I so adore, I've discovered that true love develops and changes over time. And mature love demands many texts, an open heart, and lots and lots and lots of listening. Listening is not a solution, but it is a first step. This past February, I was a participant on a 4-day intensive tour of the West Bank, specifically Bethlehem, Ramallah, and East Jerusalem, with a group called Encounter. Encounter is a nonpartisan educational organization advancing constructive Jewish leadership on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It organizes short travel programs for rabbis, Jewish educators, communal professionals, and lay leaders, people for whom Israel and the conflict are central issues at the heart of their personal and professional lives. These leaders from across the Jewish, religious, and political spectrum gather together as diverse stakeholders to meet across the conflict. Lest you think that this program is a fringe effort of anti-Zionists consorting with the enemy, let me assure you, right here, right now, that on this trip are leaders from APAC and J Street, Yeshiva University and Hebrew Union College, my alma mater, Hillel, federations, Jewish foundations, rabbis and educators from every single type of synagogue. We were all there as an expression of our Ahavat Yisrael, our love of Israel. We met with Palestinians for face-to-face encounters. We were welcomed by Palestinians in their homes, offices, conference centers, and fields, all for a single purpose, to listen. They told us their stories, political experiences, and life perspectives. They shared their sorrows and struggles, their joys and achievements. They spoke to us as the people they are, parents and children, students and teachers, Christians and Muslims, heads of NGOs, musicians and artists. All were committed, non-violent peace activists. Our shared agenda was to engage in active listening and to ask challenging questions in ways that could be heard by the person who was being addressed. As a participant, I was not asked to leave my deeply held beliefs at the door or to erase whatever information I had about the conflict. Instead, what we were asked to merely incorporate into our personal databases was this new information in the form of stories, in the form of human experience, to our understanding of the conflict. Rather than abandoning our narratives, could we make room inside our heads and hearts for other ones? In the book called Parallel Realities, Eric Black notes the paradox of stories and how multiple understandings of history can diverge wildly one from the other. It is possible for different parties to accept the same set of facts while connecting the dots between those facts in ways that lead to very different narratives. I have personally found this time and again. For example, with the telling of the story of 1948. As an American Jew and a Zionist, my own story of the war for independence varied dramatically from the Palestinian story of the Nakba. Nakba, Arabic for the catastrophe, refers to the Palestinians' loss in the 1948 war and the displacement of Palestinian refugees. For me, 1948 is the watershed moment of fulfilling the hope, Liot Am Chofshi Be'artzenu, as in the words of Hatikva, to be a free people in our land. While for Palestinians, 1948 remains cataclysmic, representing the point of no return, which forever changed their fate. To listen to such a drastically different narrative at first can feel to be a traitorous act. But please let me assure you, for me, this was a moment that exemplifies the value of Ahavat Israel, the love of Israel and the Jewish people. Listening is a truly Jewish act. When the Holy One asked King Solomon to choose which quality he most wished for himself, King Solomon requested a lev shomea, a heart that listens, often translated as an understanding heart. If listening was important to our exemplar of wisdom, Solomon, then it should be an important one for all of us too. In listening to the stories of the Palestinians alongside my fellow fully committed Jewish colleagues, I committed even more deeply and passionately to my love of Israel. Regardless of where you assign blame, the Palestinian suffering is tied up with Israel's suffering. And if I want to lessen Israel's suffering, I need to work to lessen all suffering. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. quotes our prophet Jeremiah when he asked, "Is there no balm in Gilad? Is there no balm in Gilad? Is there a spiritual medicine that can heal Israel?" Yes, I believe there is. I don't know the full recipe, but the first ingredient is listening. It's never comfortable to hear someone criticize something that you love, to point out the deficiencies or the difficulties of something you hold dear. But notes author Brene Brown, it's also hard to hate someone else close up. And it's equally hard to pretend you don't hear someone and what they're saying when they're telling you their personal story to your face. Every single one of us on earth has her own distinct story. Until we see each other up close with our own eyes, we may be blind to their reality. As human beings, we sometimes lack attention for that which is in plain sight. Our instinct for safety may blind us to vital information. In this case, the story of the other, the Palestinian story, as well as the suffering of our Jewish sisters and brothers in Israel. It takes a lot for us to go there. In 1798, John of Bratslav wanted to venture from Ukraine to Israel. His family discouraged him because they felt it was too dangerous. But Rabbi Nachman insisted Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, was where God created the world. He had to see it with his own eyes. After being in Israel for some time, he reported back that, in many respects, Israel was a place like any other. The houses, the villages, the people. They're all very much as he had experienced anywhere else. But there was one distinct difference: the dust. There was a special quality to the dust, he said, in Israel that makes it holy, said Rabbi Nachman. That dust had the power to spur the spirit of the Jewish people to fulfill the divine purpose for which this dust, he said, could transform Israel from being a place like any other to being a place like none other, where justice would be set right and peace would reign and light would shine forth from the world. I think Rabbi Nachman had a point. The prospect of Israel can be daunting because Israel is sprinkled with dust. Even this holy dust, well, it's dusty. We will get our hands dirty when we venture to love and wrestle with Israel. That dust is holy and has the power to spur the spirit, though. It can also cover us with the soot of confusion. Israel is not easy, but she's worth it. It is often that country most held under the world's microscope of scrutiny and dissected for its every move and every word. It is not fair. And yet, we have been entrusted as the Jewish people to be strong and creative and fulfill the dream of that holy place where justice will be set right and peace will reign and light will shine to the world. Some would say that this is an unreasonably high standard to hold us to. I would argue that we have a moral obligation and a holy covenant to fulfill in making it so. Israel can be a tool that the Jewish people can shine as a light unto all nations. And we, as Ohavei Yisrael, Israel lovers and Reformed Jews, can help make that happen. Though I sometimes feel alienated by Israel due to its treatment of the Reform movement, I will not despair. That same Hasidic master of the dust, Rabbi Nachman, is famous for saying, "Jews, do not despair. It is forbidden to despair." Being an Ohevet Yisrael, I will continue to seek support and guidance from organizations like the Israel Action Center of Reform Judaism, IRAC, and the Association for Reform Zionists in America, ARTSA, as we make progressive Jewish voices and platforms heard. Listening to others, their stories, their perspectives, their take on history does not assume agreement or endorsement. Just like loving Israel doesn't imply the assumption that she is perfect. Listening is just that, listening. It is so rarely done in an open and accepting way, but deep and intentional listening across difference leads to understanding. And understanding might, just might, lead to peace. If we are brave enough to love Israel, then we should be brave enough to listen to all of her stories. Just like when I was in the Blackout restaurant, we need to listen deeply to make it through. We need to listen with an open heart and open ears. My prayer this Yom Kippur is that we challenge ourselves to love Israel in bold new ways this year, to bask in its holy messiness of conversation and active listening, even when it is very, very hard to do. And so may we be blessed with eyes that can hear and ears that can see, to listen deeply and hear things that we may not have previously seen with our very own eyes.
We turn back into our prayer book on page 288 as we read together a prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu, you who are high above all nations, states, and peoples together, Rock of Israel, the one who has saved us and preserved us in life, bless the state of Israel, first flowering of our redemption. Be her loving shield, a shelter of lasting peace. Guide her leaders and advisors by the light of truth. Instruct them in your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of
turn to page 290 as we open our ark and put our Torah away. Yahweh Adonai, He is Hashem Levado. Please turn to page 293. We're seated. Because I was angry, because I didn't think, because I was exhausted and on edge, because I'd been drinking, because I can be mean, because I was reckless and selfish, because I was worried about money, because my marriage was dead, because other people were doing it, because I thought I could get away with it, because I did something wrong, because I'm in pain, because I wish I could undo it, because I hurt him, because I lost her trust, because I let them down, because I was self-destructive, because I was foolish, because I was ashamed, because that's not who I am, because that's not who I want to be, because together we say, I want to be forgiven. God, bring down my walls of defensiveness, self-righteousness. Help me to stay in humility. Please give me the strength to do what is right. Page 294. Adonai, Elohim. Fiatenu, batita lamit pinatenu. Anaku azepani kukishe oger, loman faneraka, dunai beatin bimantenu. Saditina nachnu, belogatanu, avalan nachnu, chatanu. Together we say, our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless, free of sin. In truth, we have done wrong. Please rise. Together we say, of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely, we are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. Please be seated. Turn to the middle of page 298. In English, you know the secrets of the universe and the secrets you examine our inner lives. Nothing is concealed from you, nothing hidden from your sight. Eternal One, our God, and God of our ancestors, we pray that this be your will. Forgive all our wrongs. Pardon us for every act of injustice. Help us atone for all our moral failures. Page 300, we rise for the Victory of Ramadan. The ways we have wronged you under duress by choice, and the harm we have caused in your world consciously and unconsciously. The ways we have wronged you through our thoughtlessness, and the harm we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice. The ways we have wronged you by abusing our power, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers, page 302. The ways we have wronged you by giving into our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through inflexibility and stubbornness. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters. The ways we have wronged you in our routine conversations, and harm we have caused in your world through envy. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by hating without cause. The ways we have wronged you by losing self-control, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world by hardening our hearts. The ways we have wronged you through greed and exploitation, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Page 306. The ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. The ways we have wronged you by offering or accepting bribes, and the harm we have caused in your world by profaning your name in public. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We offer our silent confession, pages 307 to 309. conclude our service this morning with
Not totally.
No, not totally. No. I mean, just like the service, but not the service. We're going to be actually, in a moment, with our concluding song, Hayom. Afterwards, we will be starting Yizkor, our memorial service. I grew up not being able to attend, and it is a custom for people in traditional circles, to only attend if you have an immediate family member who has died, but I want to invite and expand that circle to anyone who feels the need to be here for Yizkor. That service will happen in a few moments. And I also just want to let you know that for the afternoon, at 1 o'clock, we'll be having contemplative music, all in room 218 and 219, the Schottenstein rooms. We're going to be having contemplative music with Arkady Gips and Sherry Papier, always just a lovely experience. 2 p.m. Jewish meditation with Or Mars. If you've never had the opportunity to sit and breathe, highly recommended. And at 3 o'clock, we're going to be having a discussion with David Froelich called Leadership and Character, Can We Be Satisfied? And at 4 o'clock, we'll be starting Mincha, the afternoon service, rolling right into Nehila. It's a full day for you, including BRCA BRCA testing, which we hope that you'll take advantage of. So blessed to have you all here today. And before Hayom, a great thank you to everyone who made this day possible. Our incredible staff, particularly Ruth Silverman, thank you for all of the little, the participatory element of today was brought to you by her hard organizing work. And our staff are just phenomenal. I want to thank our wonderful choir, led by Tom Gull, our musicians, our board of trustees, of course, and we continue on page 318.
The infinite source of goodness, help us to see the goodness in ourselves, in others, and in the world around us. Teach us to cultivate a discerning mind, to know right from wrong, and a listening heart.
how good, meaningful, easy, fast, Hashanah Tova. Those of you who are leaving for Yizkor, we ask you to quietly exit right now. Our Yizkor service, everyone, on page 540. We ask for your quiet attention. As you exit quietly, we begin Yizkor on page 540. The death of a loved one is the most profound of all sorrows. The grief that comes with such a loss is intense and multifaceted, affecting our memories, our emotions, our bodies, and our lives. Grief is preoccupying and depleting. Emotionally, grief is a mixture of raw feelings such as sorrow, anguish, anger, regret, longing, fear, and deprivation. Grief may be experienced physically as exhaustion, emptiness, tension, sleeplessness, or loss of appetite. Grief invades our daily lives in many sudden gasps and changes. Like that empty space at the dinner table or the sudden loss of affection and companionship, as well as in many new apprehensions, adjustments, and uncertainties. The loss of a loved one throws every aspect of our lives out of balance. The closer we were to the person who died, the more havoc the loss creates. Love does not die quickly. Hence, to grieve is also to celebrate the death of the union. Tears are then the jewels of remembrance, sad but glistening with the beauty of the past. So grief is in its bitterness marks the end, but it is also praise to the one who is gone. Please turn to page 561 as we alternate couplets for the echo of your promise. Page 561. When I cry, my voice trembles with fear. When I call out, it cracks with anger. How can I greet the dawn with song when darkness eclipses the rising sun? To whom shall I turn when the clouds of the present eclipse the rays of tomorrow? Turn me around to yesterday, that I might be consoled by its memories. Were not the seas split asunder? Did we not once walk together through the waters, to the dry land, to the dry side? Did we not bless the bread that came forth from the heavens? Did your voice not reach my ears and direct my wanderings? The waters, the lightning, the thunder remind me of yesterday's triumphs. Let the past offer proof of tomorrow. Let it be my comforter and guarantor. I have been here before, known the fright, found your companionship. I enter the sanctuary again to await the echo of your promise.
Page 562.
Ah page 567. 567. A poem by Hans Nash. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We will be silent for the next few pages, reciting our own use for prayers. And with the turning of the next page, you may begin. Page 570 through 583 is your silent reflection. Please turn the page and rise. We enter our silent reflection. shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restored my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table for my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Please turn to page 598 for our memorial prayer. Please rise.
תחת כנפי השכינה
perfect rest for the souls of our loved ones who have gone into eternity. May they find shelter in your presence among the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold them close to you forever. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May they find a home in you. May they rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. And we turn now to the Mourner's Kaddish on page 606. We say the sacred words, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'ohad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon, v'chayei t'kol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'ome'omayam, Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitadeh, v'yithalal, shmei kudsha brichu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushkachata v'nechemata, da'amira v'yoma v'yimru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemayim, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, Yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen. May the source of peace bring peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are grieving. Zichronam livracha. Let us remember them with love in our hearts continuously. May they inspire us to do mitzvot, to lift up their members at every opportunity that we have, and we say,